after today, you'll have kind of a good understanding of that. I did want to talk about final expense first, and then I'm going to talk about safe care term. And Marisa, does anybody use the AD&D program that we offer that you know of on the team?
To the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay, so I'll talk about that after final expense because those kind of go hand in hand. And do I have access to share the screen here?
Christina. She's going to give you some access now, Michelle.
You should be all set,
Oh.
Michelle.
Okay, perfect. And I'm not going to make this boring and go slide by slide. I just like to have it. I think people like everybody listens differently. Does that make sense? So some people like to be able to see it. Some people like to be able to hear it. Oops, hit the wrong button there.
That makes perfect sense. So thank you for having both available. I appreciate it, Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do the training every week for American Amicable, and I love it because I get to touch really the agents when they first start, especially with our new agent workshop. And then they reach out to me and ask me questions. And then it's kind of nice because then I can put that information into presentations because it's like, well, that is a very valid point. Like, why is that not in there? So today, like I said, I want to start with our final expense product. I do like the calls to be engaging. So I don't know if people like to throw emojis up during the call. I always think that's fun. If you know how to do that, if you don't, you can just throw a chat out. But how many people have already used our final expense product? And I don't know if you can do emojis on Zoom. I never know which one is which because I'm always presenting, but. So in our chat, people are busting out in the chat. It's fantastic. I love it. Love it. Okay, so final expense with American Amicable. Like how many carriers, I don't want to know, but how many carriers have final expense, right? So why should you sell our products compared to maybe some of the other carriers that we have? So first and foremost, you want to have that immediate underwriting decision. You want it to be super easy. So I'm not going to go through our app today, but our app is very easy. And really, I think most apps are easy. So that's not like the biggest claim to fame, but it is really easy. You go through the process. We have little hints in the application for you to kind of help you move you along through the right direction. We also have issue ages 0 to 85. And I think a lot of times agents don't realize that. So you're thinking like final expense. And I was the same way when I came to AmAm. It's like final expense, 50 to 85. That's literally what's in my head. Okay. But we also offer a 0 to 49 because we realize that there are clients at that age that have medical conditions that are going to prevent them from other coverage. And I think agents immediately are like, oh, they can't get whole life, term, an IUL, UL. We better put them into guaranteed issue to get them some type of coverage. Okay, depending on what their conditions are. Some people have really severe medical conditions in their younger age already, but you want to get them some kind of coverage. Well, we offer that coverage to them through our final expense process. Okay, so rather than saying like, let's do guaranteed issue, okay, let's look at AmAm. Okay, height and weight chart, dual use medication consideration. This is one that I really like at AmAm as well. You're taking Symbicort, for example. Symbicort could be asthma. It could be used for COPD, emphysema. There are certain carriers that just have a list and they're like, we're not taking any of these medications because it could make the client answer yes to this question. What we have built into our system is, hey, why is your client taking that? So we're just going to say, like, why is your client taking that medication? Are they taking it for congestive heart failure, like furosemide, or is it for blood pressure? Because we are trying to make a decision for you and for the client. Okay. Same thing like on our term products. I'm just going to get it out of the way here. I see seizure medications come up a lot. I don't know about doctors. I feel like they prescribe seizure medications for like everything. And I have no idea why. But we just are like, hey, are they taking it for seizures? No. And then we can kind of move on with the process. But rather than just saying like, hey, we're not going to take all of these medications because they could be bad, we kind of ask to get a little bit more information to get a decision for you, and the best decision, not just a decision. So we have 5% get declined. Really, I like to be positive. So 95% get some type of an offer, right? We like to be positive around here. So 95%, we have 3 different death benefit options. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. So even if they're not getting that immediate approval, they're going to get some type of an offer with us. We have all the signatures now. You know, you can really do everything: voice, wet, text, email, whatever, sign on the screen, whatever you want to do. Text came out at the end of last year. It's very popular. Our voice, for anybody who is doing telesales with seniors, you hear voice and sometimes think, oh, I have to call into a third party and they're going to ask my client questions. Well, that's not what we do. The agent dials the number. It is still a third party call, but they read the script to the client agrees, and then you're done. So it's really nice and quick, and the agent's facilitating the whole process. So the control never moves from the agent to anybody else during the whole process. And I'm going to talk about some of our writers very quickly today, really just one, I think, that I'm going to talk about for final expense, because I want to make sure there's time for questions at the end. So our different death benefit options. We have immediate, we have graded, and we have return of premium. A lot of times agents think our return of premium is guaranteed issue. And again, I'm going to throw myself in there because I started at AMIA. I thought our return of premium was guaranteed issue as well. So our return of premium is actually returning the premium that the client paid into the beneficiary plus 10%. So return of premium is going to be like that bottom layer of conditions where they're pretty extensive, and it's based on the years that the client has had them. So if you look at our application, you can clearly see like, hey, these are our knockout questions 1 through 3. Questions 4 through 7 are based on kind of like the last 2 years of the client's health, and that makes return of premium depending on their answer. And then question number 8 is our graded. So, and question number 8 is like 3 years or longer. So essentially kind of a better look at their medical history. Our graded is 30, 70, 100 as far as the years. So that's a pretty typical graded. Our final expense immediate ages 50 to 75 does go all the way up to 50,000. So again, kind of a thing to look at. You're trying to talk to, and I know I've heard FFL agents talk about this. I totally stole this, but you're talking about mortgage protection, and your client can't qualify because of medical conditions. So rather than protecting their whole mortgage, you're protecting mortgage payments, right? So you can switch to our final expense. And as you can see, depending on their age, it goes all the way up to 50,000. I'm not sure anybody over 75 still has a mortgage that they're looking to just now kind of cover, but it could be, it goes up to 25. That's definitely going to take care of lots of mortgage payments. So the thought process is, just because somebody gets declined, there's lots of different options. Okay. And with American Amicable, we have tons. So I'm going to talk about our 2 writers that we have at no cost, and then 1 more writer. And then I'm going to kind of keep moving along here. So the no cost writers that we have are terminal illness. They can receive up to 100% of the death benefit if their life expectancy is 12 months or less. A lot of times, you think life insurance is going to pay the beneficiary when somebody passes, but these are benefits that the client actually has access to while they are still living. And a lot of times I just don't think that they realize that. Even if an agent has talked to them about it, they're like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like, I'm not going to remember what happened earlier today. And I think all of us are like that too. Confined care is if the insurance confined to a nursing home at least 30 days. After the policy is written, they can also receive monthly payments from us. So having somebody get put into a nursing home is horrendous, and there's so much stress and everything involved in it, and especially if you don't have a way to pay for it. But this is, again, a benefit of having insurance with us, that we would pay a monthly benefit out of 5% of the face amount to the insured if they're in the nursing home. So the one writer I'm going to talk about, because this is my favorite writer, is the grandchild writer. This is providing protection on grandchildren and great-grandchildren through age 20. So I think this group looks pretty young here. I'm not sure if anybody has any grandkids, but I feel like once the grandkids come around, like the rest of us kids are chopped liver, right? I feel like I was always my mom's favorite, and then now whichever baby is the youngest is her favorite, like hands down. That's just how it is. Okay. So when you're talking to your client and you're doing kind of that warm up, getting to know them a little bit, and they're talking about their grandkids, or you're in their house and you see a wall plastered and it's full of pictures of their grandchildren, this is a rider that you have, that you can talk about. We do find that when the rider is attached, persistency is better because you can remind them when they're like, I'm not sure I want to keep this. Hey, well, your grandkids are covered too, remember? And it kind of helps with that. So the benefit is going to guarantee the grandkids or the great grandchildren's future insurability up to $50,000 regardless of their health, which I think you're not only protecting the grandkids, but their grandparents are kind of leaving in that legacy of the importance of life insurance as well. So it's ages 6 months to 15 years is when they can be covered. And you can see as far as the cost for grandchildren at 10,000 is $8 a month. So it's very inexpensive. And if the grandparents pass, the child's still covered until age 21, which is nice as well. Because again, they've passed, but they're kind of leaving that protection for their grandkids. We always also like to say, you covered the grandparents and you covered the grandchildren, like who's in the middle? The parents. Well, certainly they need coverage as well. So it's just another opportunity to get more in the household as far as cases to help with your persistency too. That's one of the things that we've like in studies and that type of thing. The more cases in a house, you're their agent, you're not an agent. You have one case, they're like, should I call Christina? There's some other agent here, but you have multiple in the house. They're like, oh yeah, like we got Christina, we're good. That's just kind of how it works. All right, so that's our grandchild rider. I'm going to pass through these other ones here. Hopefully I'm not making anybody motion sick through my slides. I want to just do a quick look at our underwriting. So I kind of mentioned this, there's some different conditions that we take that I think other carriers don't take. And that's just standard. Like every carrier has like their actuaries are like, all right, we'll take this risk, we'll take this risk, not this one, but this one, that's just how it works. So our agent guide, I know it's like 50 pages long. Okay, scroll all the way down to the bottom. The bottom is where the conditions and the prescriptions are, or just hit Control F, and then you can search that way. But you can look at conditions, and once you do it a few times and you're like, oh, I got it. Like I have somebody with kidney failure, I could write them with American Amicable at return of premium. Okay, so that's one example. We have tons of different conditions out there. The same thing goes for our prescriptions. So you have a client who's taking, I use this example, Symbicort. If they're taking it for asthma, they can get immediate coverage. If it's for COPD or emphysema, then it just depends on the last time the RX was filled. Okay. And it's going to tell you all of those details, which is super handy. I sometimes have agents ask me a question about prescriptions or conditions. I don't know them off the top of my head. I just go look on the agent guide real quick. Because it's just, there's too much to remember for every single different carrier that you're going to write with. And it's really just too many conditions for me to remember, especially with our different products that we offer. Now, if you are still not sure, we have live chat. And I always like to talk about our live chat. On our agent portal, go to live chat. You click on it in the top left corner. Let me see if I have the right one. Perfect. Okay. All of these different departments are available. So it's not just for risk assessments. Risk assessments, you are going to be talking to an underwriter when you're asking the questions about your client, which is great. You're going to get a decision from an underwriter. The other nice thing is, since you're talking to an underwriter, if you're applying for term, they're going to say your client doesn't qualify for term, but they would qualify for a final expense immediate. Or they don't qualify for a final expense immediate, but they will qualify for a return of premium. So they're going to give you like more information than like, no, we don't want that client. Okay. They will help you if they can to get them into a product. But you can also talk to agent contracting. That one, I'm not sure how often that one gets hit up. Claims, if you need to ask about a claim. Client experience. I think this is the biggest one that I like to push. If it is an in-force policy, or it's just not pending anymore, okay? Like if it's lapsed, anything past it being a new business, go to client experience. That's our customer service team. But you can talk to somebody through live chat, and you don't have to call and be in a queue and waiting for somebody to answer. regardless of how many people we keep hiring, our phone calls just keep getting bigger and bigger, like the times, because we just have so many new, like so much business coming on. So that's where we're really trying to push agents to live chats. It's faster. Commissions, new business and marketing support. So everything in advance, new business that, you need a form, you need to know what's going on with your case, whatever you need as far as like prior to the application coming on, that is our new business and marketing support. Okay, so that's kind of our final expense. Is there any, I see there's lots of chats in here. Are there questions in here? I like all of this good stuff. The voice chat, excellent. Voice for all those with landlines. Yep. I just love all of you. You're so great. Okay, so any questions about final expense? And then I'm going to talk about our AD&D.
Michelle,
Yes.
one quick question. So I know you have senior choice and then you have legacy plan. So essentially legacy plan, my understanding is like senior choice, but then it has additional benefits. Could you kind of go over those benefits that it offers?
Oh, yes, absolutely. That's a
Thank you so
great
much.
question. So senior choice is just the final expense insurance, and then you can add riders to it. But it's just like, again, kind of the typical application in your head. Now, the legacy has our concierge plan attached to it. And so it's going to cost, there is a higher cost, but everything is included when they pay that cost. So it is kind of end of life planning for the client. So they can go on in advance and essentially plan their funeral out to a certain point. They can save passwords, information that their beneficiary is going to need when they pass. So it's really kind of helping with that whole funeral process. And then when they do pass, the beneficiary also has access to all of that information. And it's 24/7, 365. So somebody will answer the phone, whatever time, talk to the beneficiary, say like, look, this is what you need to do first. If you've ever gone through having to plan a funeral, it's such a horrible time. Somebody in your life, if you're the one planning the funeral, someone very, very important in your life has just passed. And now you're being told, here, this is what you need to do. So the person on the phone is like, here are the, funeral homes in your area. This is the one that has this, and this, and they kind of help you as far as pricing goes too. So they're going to be able to tell you like, this one is going to be about this much. And they just kind of walk you through the whole process. So then they're also like, your dad went ahead and he has all of this information set up on kind of how he wants his funeral to be done. So they give all of that information over. So it's really somebody helping through that whole process from start through the finish line. That's a great question.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I do have a video on that I can send out to you if you're interested. Let me just make myself a note.
Absolutely. If you want to just email it or text it to me, Michelle, that's perfect.
Yeah, because then you can send it out. I mean, if you're talking to your clients about it, it's a video meant to show to the clients, essentially.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. All right. Okay. So let me click out of this one. I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully I can do this without making a mess. And then I'm going to switch into a different presentation quick here. AD&D program that we offer. This is in attachment essentially to our final expense. Now, this is something that you have to sign up for. So there is going to be a QR code I'm going to show here in just a few minutes, but let me just explain what this is. And, I think this is a really good program and not enough agents actually use it. This is, it's AD&D, stands for accidental death and dismemberment. And you can give it to your clients at no cost. And we say final expense prospects, you can really give it to any of your clients, but I feel like it probably makes the most sense with a final expense, honestly. So that's why we have it that way. But I'm going to give you kind of some hints on like what you can use this for, but we find people using it to get referrals, but also like to kind of make appointments or be able to make that initial final expense presentation. So this is, again, no cost to the client. The face amounts are 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I can send all of these decks to all of you, by the way, so that I'll send them afterwards. So you have access to all of that. Issue age is 18 to 85, and there's absolutely no underwriting. So even if you sat with a client and they could not get coverage, you can give this to them still. You know, it doesn't bother us. Okay. No health license is needed. I think that's something that gets asked a lot. It's for 1 year. So it's a policy term of 1 year, and it can be renewed every year. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But the agent is facilitating this. So it actually, you type in the information electronically and it's going to give you a PDF of the policy. And since it's no cost, you, the agent, just email it to your client. We don't have like it go through AMM like a normal policy would. Okay. Now you can give away 1,000 and it's absolutely no cost to you as the agent. If you give all the way up to 5,000 away, it's $2 and it's a one-time cost. So regardless of how you use it, if you decide, hey, I want to give my client 5,000, it's going to be a $2 charge to you. And it gets charged the following month on your earned statement. So like today is March 21st. If you went out and did 5 of these, it would be $10 and it would hit you on April 1st. Okay, if that makes sense. And like I said, it's just a one-time cost. But again, it's in 50-cent intervals. We're not getting crazy here with cost. If you wanted to do 3,000, it's only $1. So it's just really kind of what you want to do with it. Now, I'm not going to read through all of these, but I just kind of want to hit on some of these. And you, like I said, you're going to get a copy of this. But lead generation, appointment setting, you know, or let me go back to lead generation. Lead generation is like if you're doing like a seminar or I'm not really sure, like anywhere where you would be out trying to get clients. Maybe you don't do those things. I don't know. But you're like, hey, fill out this form and you can get your no cost AD&D. Okay. Appointment setting, like if you're trying to set a lead, like, hey, if you schedule an appointment with me, I will give you this for free. Like maybe you have a client who's kind of hesitant. Referrals, this is what it gets used for the most. Okay, you just sat with Mrs. Smith for 30 minutes, an hour, however long it is, and she bought insurance from you. Now you say, do you know of anybody else who may be interested in insurance? Like anybody else that I could help? Like how many people can you give me? And then you could say, well, I'll give you 5,000 in AD&D, or I'll give you 1,000, whatever the case may be. But think about even if you just get one and that turns into another sale for you, you know, or you get 5 and it turns into 3 and you spent like $6. Okay. That's the one that it gets used for most. Going back to see your current clients, you know, you have a slow week. For some reason, you can't get your appointment set and you're like, man, I better get some business on the books. Okay. I got stuff to buy. I got to do it. I want to go on a cruise. I'm going on the cruise. If I don't get invited to the lock-in, at least I got invited to the cruise. But you can go back and see your old clients, right? Or go back and see clients if they like, maybe they were like, I'm not really sure. And you think like, you know what, I bet I can get them. Go back and offer this to them to get another plate, you know, another try at it essentially. Plus it's good for a year. So you can go back after a year to see the clients again, if you are interested in it. And if your client for final expense, they get offered graded or return a premium, this is something else. Like, I'm sorry that you couldn't get that, but I can also give you this kind of in addition. So those are just some different ways that you can use it. So you start out with a paper form, and we can't refile this to make it electronic, because if we do, then you would have to have a health license. So it is a little old school, but this is not something that you send in to us. It's really something that you keep. Okay. So it's, you collect this information, your client signs it at the bottom, and then you fill out everything electronically still. So you're not having to like keep this paper application with you at all times. It's just really to collect the information. And again, you do not send it back in to us. We don't want it. Okay. And there's no premium or mode attached to it. That is part of the application, but there is none. This is the QR code. So you do need to scan this, and this is how you get signed up. So you're going to put in your name, your email address, and your agent number. Then you're going to get 2 emails from me. One is your site ID and password to put in the information electronically. And then the second one has a marketing referral sheet. and it has some other information like for marketing purposes, and it does have a copy of the paper application. So I typically do these on Monday. I'm gonna try to squeeze it in this afternoon because I'm out tomorrow, and I do have a few in there from other trainings that I've done. So hopefully if you get signed up today, I'll be able to get it through before the end of the day today here. So that's the QR code. Last but not least, this is one of those weird things about, we have many different company names. So I always say AMAN, but we also have Occidental, and we have Pioneer. All of it is same as part of the same company, but in certain states, you have to have an Occidental number to use the AD&D. And I think as I look at agents from FFL, almost everybody has numbers for each. But Florida, Iowa, Massachusetts, Michigan, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, and Washington, all of those states, you have to have an Occidental number to use it. And then it's not in Maine, New Hampshire, or New Jersey at all, the program. And last but not least, we would like you to write business with us. So that's why we have this great program. So they say that every 4 that you give out, we would like 1 case to come back in. It's not a perfect science. Nobody's ever going to say like Heather, you know, she gave 100 of these out and she only wrote 23 apps. Good for Heather writing 23 apps with us. Thank you. You know, we understand that not every client's going to get covered with us. We just want to see that you're making an effort to write business with us and you're not just giving these out, if that makes sense. Okay. All right. That's our AD&D. So I'm going to get out of this one now really quick. And then I'm going to talk about our Safe Care term.
Heather, is the AD&D ages 0 to 85?
It is ages, no, it's 18 to 85.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Get out of that one. And then the last but not least is, where's the share screen here? And then we can just have open up for questions. Okay, so our Safe Care term. When I first started, you know, like I was actually at an FFL meeting last June, and I was in Phoenix. Was like the Blitz or whatever, where it's like meetings for 2 weeks. And somebody came up to the table and they're like, what's the difference between your 3-term products? I'm like, I didn't know we had 3-term products. So, you know, like I just started. So I think that's one of the things we started with one, and then somebody asked us for something else. And then so we added that, but it had to be a new product. And then we got our like mortgage protection. So we ended up with 3. And then Integrity like tapped us on the shoulder. They were like, hey, let's build a term product together for just Integrity partners. Okay. So obviously FFL is included in that window. The best part of Safe Care to me, I wish I could talk to everybody about it, but I can't. It takes all of the best parts of our other term products and it's in one. So you don't have to even look at the other term products. You're like, oh, I just have Safe Care. I'm lucky, right? So for Safe Care, again, it's the really fast and simple process, like our final expense application. It's that 1 page. The other products, some of them go up to 300, some of them go up to 500. It just depends on the age of the client. Everybody on our Safe Care goes up to 500 as far as they face them out. And there's still no paramed exam. It does have preferred rates, which is great. And it does have return of premium. And again, our other products, that was one of the things, like some of them have that and some of them don't. So we have preferred rates. We do have return of premium on this product. It does have all the signature options. I see text isn't listed, but we do have the text signature on here. And now I don't like to talk about commissions, but my understanding, and if I'm wrong, somebody can smack me, is the commissions are right up at the top as far as the different term products that we offer. So you're going to get that higher commission bump for this product too. And the premiums are very competitive. From ages 20 to 45 is the most competitive, okay? Because it's term, that's really where a lot of people are buying it as well. So that's where we put it the most competitive pieces. We have 10, 15, 20, and 30-year durations. Again, the return of premiums available on the 20 and 30 year. There's an annual renewable term to age 95. It's convertible without evidence of insurability, and it does issue all the way to age 75. So even, you know, you're trying to get some type of coverage for a client, you do have the opportunity to sell somebody up to age 75 here. And again, so these are the different ages. So just the 10-year level goes up to 75. So that's 18 to 75. That's where all of them start, is at age 18. And then the max face for everybody is at 500,000. And then we do have the preferred non-tobacco. So we don't have preferred tobacco, just preferred non-tobacco. And then we have standard non-tobacco and tobacco. As far as underwriting, we're looking at the app. We're looking at the height and weight chart. We're looking at the motor vehicle report. So that's one I think that triggers people a little bit, is people find out their license is suspended sometimes when they're getting an app with us. They didn't know, or maybe they knew, but they thought they could get away with it. But we do look at that. Like if somebody, like, you know, you're walking up to the house and they have lots of dents in their car and like the bumper is hanging off, like they might not be able to get coverage, you know, like maybe they bang up their car quite a bit. So that is part of the app. It's like the questions on there. So it does have that, but that's something to kind of talk to them about that maybe you wouldn't normally talk to them about, is like their driving record. It is still going to run MIB, and it is still going to run the script check to check those pieces. I always like to talk about our blood pressure on this one. For our term products, all of our term products, if the client's taking 2 or less blood pressure medications and it's controlled, we do ask for the reading, they can get approved. If they're taking 3 or more, they would be a decline, because if you're taking 3 medications for blood pressure, not controlled, right? And then telephone interview, this is only for ages 65 and over. So that can be done during the process. You do not have to schedule another time to go back later to see them. You can do it right then and there and get that over with. You know how it is when you try to schedule something for somebody to call a senior back, or even somebody our age, to try to get them to answer the phone and they don't know the number. I'm horrible about that myself. Our preferred underwriting, how to get preferred with us. It does have a longer look back period on tobacco. There is a special build chart for preferred, and it's on page 16 of the agent guide, and then longer look back for certain health conditions and drug and alcohol abuse as well. I already talked about that. So I just want to open it up for questions. I know, like in the chat here, let me just stop my share. There's anything in the chat for questions. And I don't know if we can people can unmute themselves, but yes. AD&D does help get referrals for sure.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So I'm a note taker, and I did not finish all of the notes from your slides, which were
I'm going to send them out.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Perfect.
Well, I'm going to send them to Christina, and then you can send them out to everybody. Is that right?
Yeah, that's perfect. We'll get them posted in Slack.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes. No, thank you, Michelle. This was so
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. What other questions do we have out here?
So Michelle, I go ahead, Rob.
What's your recommendation on your universal life product you guys carry? What will be
My recommendation is in June, we're going to have our IUL, and it's going to be amazing.
Hey, that's good. Okay. Awesome.
No, we have an Express UL, and to be completely honest, I think the business that we get is when somebody does not qualify for an IUL with another carrier because of their health conditions. So we certainly take more health conditions than other carriers do as far as that is concerned. I can send out information about the Express UL as well. So you can either, there's 2 different options where the cash value increases or the death benefit increases. So it illustrates very easily. It's like a 2-page illustration. You can kind of play with that. I thought I just could never do the illustration, and I watched Darren do a webinar, and I realized I was using the wrong illustration. I wasn't even doing the right one. So that is helpful for you to do that. But it actually looks really nice. It is going to project out at least 18 years, but depending on how much they're putting into it, you can add an extra to push it out farther than that too. But I think the best thing on that is that it's going to take medical conditions that others would not necessarily take.
Michelle, what are some, because I feel like the underwriting on your term product specifically is really lenient. Obviously with the final expense it is too, but for term, I feel like you guys are really lenient. What are some of the medical conditions that you guys will take on term that some of the other carriers that we work with won't?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me pull up my little cheat sheet here. And I don't know off the top of my head what other carriers take. We have something like that for final expense, but we don't have like a comparison on our term. Let me just type in, okay, give me 1 second here. I just put my phone number in the chat as well. So if people have questions after, you can text me or you can call me. Text is better. Just if I'm doing a training, then I can just get back to you when I am done with that. Here it is. Okay. I'm gonna look at the Safe Care specifically since that's the one I talked about.
That's
So give me
perfect.
one. Yeah. So so our agent guide really tells you more like what we don't take than what we do take. So that might be something I can send to you after, like maybe something that like stuff that we take or don't take. Because we really like in our like what we have, it's more like the declines as far as that. Like now a few things on here depending on your work history. So like if you have some type of dangerous job, depending on what it is, I think we take some of that like more than others. Let me see. Hold on, give me 1 second. I got this pulled up.
And
So
guys,
somebody
while Michelle's-
has
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Michelle. I love you guys' term product, and I know kind of like a little bit of the leniency. So just to speak to while you're
Okay.
pulling that up, like you talked about the high blood pressure, that's helped me out with a lot of my clients getting declined with other carriers, and then being able to go AMAM and actually just seeing it slide right through, so to say. So I would say like one thing that just coming from somebody who really does like the term product line of AMAM, high blood pressure, that's gonna contradict maybe with a low level of, diabetes. That combination isn't always friendly to every carrier. It's not always friendly to AMAM either, but if everything is under control, like Michelle said, those two or less blood pressure medications, everything's under control, it usually pushes through nice and smoothly with no additional questions asked outside of the application. So that's a big one for me when I go to you guys.
And like anemia is something that we take. Minimal rheumatoid arthritis. I know that it's definitely hard to get like arthritis covered. And it is, but it is minimal or like a slight impairment from arthritis is one that we take that not a lot of others do. Asthma, of course, we have to make sure that they haven't had like hospitalizations or something like that. That's another one that we take. We also are very like military friendly because that is how we got started was application or working with military families. And some of the the products that we have that I didn't talk about today, they're like really focused specifically on military. So we're going to take some military clients that like maybe wouldn't be able to play somewhere else. So like active duty, like we will take and others would not take. Bronchitis. So cancer is based on when they had it. So if it's been like past 7 years, that is standard with us, but that's for our term. So I mean, there's quite a few of them out here that we're gonna take. I just don't know what everybody else takes is the problem. And anybody else can chime in that write our Safe Care term or any of our term products. Feel free to chime in. Diabetes with controlled oral medications is standard with us as well.
One thing I would chime in on is I think it's a big deal, guys, when we open up a term application and the question reads, have you ever had on all of the questions, right?
Yeah.
To hear like, Michelle, somebody can be cancer-free for 7 years and they can qualify for term. Sometimes that's confusing because other carriers are just like, nope, because they've had cancer. Whereas guys, 7 years free, clear, no treatment, they've been doing great. Like AMAM's willing to take a good look at them. So I think when we look at the actual application, the way the questions are asked, there are a few ever questions, but then it typically is phrased in the last 7 years, in the last 5 years, in the last 2 years. So that's a big deal. So definitely a big eye opener there too, Michelle. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say too, just in general with our underwriting, this isn't something I mentioned, but I do want to say, we allow you to put comments in. So don't put your comments in until after the decision pops up. Because anytime there's comments, it gets referred. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago and the agent was like, mine always get referred. He puts NA for the comments every time. So every time it was getting referred because he put a comment in. Okay. So, but the nice thing is if it gets declined and you're like, you know what, it shouldn't be declined. I know my client is taking this medication and it's because of this. You can put a note in and it's going to go to an underwriter to look at as opposed to another carrier. So like, we already declined it. I don't know why you're putting comments in, right? So we will take a second look at it. That's something where you could always reach out to me as well and say like, hey, do you know why this client got declined? Like, do you think like maybe we can look at it again? And I could absolutely always have somebody look at it. Now, every single time you get somebody declined, you can't say, Michelle, I don't think they should have been declined. But we really will go back and look at cases. And we could also say like, hey, you know, this person got declined for term, but would they qualify for final expense? So we could also always look at that too. And if they're going to get declined on our final expense, then they're not going to be eligible anywhere else. But, you know, we do always offer a return of premium or graded when we can for our final expense too.